Why does it feel like almost everyone in South Korea is drowning in debt? From students and office workers to entire families and retirees, the numbers are staggering.
South Korean households are among the most indebted in the world. Their debt is even greater than the entire country's economic output.
This isn't just personal finance gone wrong, it's a structural crisis. In this video, we're diving deep into South Korea's household debt problem, exploring whether people are living beyond their means or if the system is simply setting them up to fail. As of 2025, household debt in South Korea has surged to a staggering $1.34 trillion. With debt standing at 105% of GDP in 2022, this level of indebtedness places South Korea among the most heavily indebted countries globally. What's really interesting as well as concerning is the widespread nature of this debt. Affecting nearly every household, the average family owes nearly twice its annual disposable income, creating deep anxieties about economic stability and the potential for long-term financial distress among millions of South Koreans. This situation isn't isolated. It affects almost everyone as well. Mortgage education loans, credit cards, microlending, even small business debt, and cosmetic financing, all aggregate into a vast financial burden. And how does South Korea's situation compare to other countries like the United States? Surprisingly, South Korea's debt-to-income ratio is significantly higher. While the average American household owes approximately 100% of their annual disposable income, South Korean households average about 200%, highlighting a more severe financial strain. South Korea's intense cultural emphasis on maintaining social status through consumption significantly fuels this debt crisis. Known as competitive spending, this phenomenon involves considerable expenditures on luxury brands, the latest technology, and high-end lifestyles. South Koreans spend more per capita on luxury items than nearly any other nation, driven largely by societal expectations.
Consumers in South Korea are known for their taste in the finer things. A survey shows they spend more on high-end goods per capita than shoppers in any other country.
These pressures extend to almost every aspect of daily life, compelling individuals and families to spend beyond their means, frequently relying on credit as well as loans. This isn't just about wealth, it's about expectation. K-pop idols influencers raise the bar, fostering a YOLO-style spending ethos, prioritizing experiences ahead of stability. Over the past decade, waves of Korean pop as well as hip-hop artists have tapped into this emotional weight of financial anxiety. BTS, one of Korea's biggest global acts, tackled the theme of financial pressure and generational burnout in songs like No More Dreams as well as Silver Spoon, a biting critique of how younger generations are handed down broken promises yet told to work harder, while other songs like Go Go feature lyrics about spending money, particularly in the context of YOLO, you only live once, and indulging in spending habits. This music isn't just about glamorizing consumption, it reflects the stress of trying to look successful in a country where appearances are everything, and financial support systems are lacking. YOLO culture in this sense becomes both a rebellion as well as resignation. If you're already in debt, you might as well spend big now and worry later.
을 갖고 있으시거든요. 70만 공개하시고 30을 숨겨요.
The popularity of these stories at home and abroad speaks volumes. They resonate not because they're extreme, but they're familiar. For many South Koreans, a fear of financial collapse, of losing everything due to missed payments and unexpected bills, is not a distant possibility. It's really a daily anxiety. It's also a recurring theme in films like Parasite and Squid Game. Both have captured a global audience by portraying characters trapped by poverty and desperate financial choices. These stories aren't fiction, they reflect a reality that many South Koreans recognize. In Parasite, the characters struggle with underemployment, low wages, and cramped housing, driven to infiltrate a wealthy family's household out of sheer financial desperation. Their decisions, while morally questionable, are grounded in real economic inequalities many face. In Squid Games, their stakes are even higher. Hundreds of participants burdened by massive amounts of debt compete in deadly children's game to win a life-changing sum of money. What's striking is that these contestants not only include those who are jobless, but also salary workers, immigrants, and business owners, highlighting that debt touches every segment of Korean society. Even children's luxury items are a status symbol. Department stores report booming sales of high-end jackets, bags, and toys for kids. This keeping up mentality drives households to take out credit for nothing more than image maintenance. Education is another enormous contributor to household debt. South Korean families spend annually billions of dollars on private academies or hagwons, seen as essential for children's educational success and career opportunities. This investment in education often forces parents into substantial debt as they borrow extensively to cover these recurring costs. Unfortunately, these debts do not simply vanish after graduation. With more than 80% of students attending hagwons, these become essential expenses, not optional ones. Most South Korean families pay around $3,500 to $4,200 per year for hagwon tuition. Even preschoolers average $2,700 annually. With multiple children, these costs can essentially reach $10,000 or more every single year. Parents often stretch their finances, borrowing, refinancing, and even taking out loans for decades to finance higher education. The results? Debt doesn't disappear when kids graduate. The stringent beauty standards prevalent in South Korean culture also contribute significantly to personal debt. Cosmetic surgery, skincare products, and beauty treatments are often perceived as not luxuries but necessities for personal as well as financial success.
South Korea, a country of about 50 million people, accounted for nearly 1 million of them. It reportedly has the highest rate of plastic surgery per capita.
This perception has led many individuals, especially younger adults, to finance these procedures and products through loans and credit cards, further compounding their financial burden. Monthly skincare routines can cost upwards of $500. Many individuals finance procedures and products through loans, installment programs, as well as credit cards, making beauty standards a direct path to debt. Not only that, but the housing market in South Korea exacerbates the crisis even more. Property prices has risen, especially in major urban areas like Seoul, and this has made home ownership unattainable without significant borrowing. The traditional rental system in South Korea, known as jeonse, require large upfront deposits, typically financed through loans, putting both the renter as well as homeowner into continuous debt cycles. This relentless climb in housing costs ensures that debt remains a consistent concern from nearly every household. Tenants typically hand over a lump sum, often 60% to 90% of a property's value, as a security deposit for a 2-year lease. No rent is paid during this time, and the deposit is returned at the end. These landlords use the jeonse deposit as a source of capital, essentially an interest-free loan. While the system helps to avoid monthly rent, the large upfront costs force many families to borrow from banks to afford it. And when property values fall or landlords default, tenants can often lose their deposit, revealing how fragile this system can be. This practice, once seen as innovative, now contributes to debt instability and housing market speculation. Many South Koreans also face job loss as well as career shifts, turning to entrepreneurship. About roughly 1/3 of the workforce in South Korea engage in some sort of self-employment, largely funded through personal loans and mortgages. Unfortunately, the volatile nature of small businesses often result in failure, leaving entrepreneurs as well as their families with massive amounts of debt. Economic downturns like the recent pandemic intensify these challenges, making financial recovery even harder. Roughly 1/3 of Koreans engage in self-employment, often funded through personal loans and mortgaged property. Laid-off workers frequently turn to small businesses, especially in crisis periods. But business volatility is high. One really concerning issue is the rise of predatory lending in South Korea, many of whom charge extremely high interest rates, sometimes up to 20% annually. These lenders aggressively target low-income individuals and those with poor credit histories, offering quick access to cash, but trapping these individuals in a cycle of unmanageable repayment. Government crackdowns have reduced the number of these lenders, but online platforms and under-regulated fintech apps have taken their place, making predatory loans even more accessible. And debt really impacts every generation differently in South Korea. Young adults navigate student loans, credit card debt, as well as housing costs, and bear a significant burden relative to their limited incomes. Middle-aged citizens often manage multiple debt types at the same time: mortgages, children's education loans, and personal credit cards, creating significant financial stress. Older adults increasingly face debt accumulation from supporting family members financially. Structural economic factors deeply entrench South Korea's debt crisis. Factors like stagnant wage growth, rising living costs, employment instability, as well as inadequate social safety nets, force many households into debt as a survival strategy. Historical government policies that encourage borrowing has really put people into a cycle of debt. The debt experience also significantly differs across socioeconomic classes. The middle class faces high debt levels from mortgages, educational expenses, and often struggles the most, balancing financial obligations that exceed their income growth. Lower income households also face distinct challenges, in particular with predatory lending practices lending to severe financial outcomes despite smaller loan amounts. Meanwhile, wealthier citizens typically leverage debt in a strategy using it to enhance financial opportunities rather than a lifeline. And here's where things really get bleak. South Koreans' elderly population are some of the worst off in the world. They can't really afford to stop working, and you might think of retirement as a time to relax after decades of hard work. But in Korea, roughly half of all people over the age of 60 are still working or looking for work. And it has nothing to do with ambition, it's simply survival. The nation has one of the highest elderly poverty rates in developed countries. Over 40% of Koreans aged 65 and up live in relative poverty, and the pension system isn't enough to cover basic expenses. So what happens, many older Koreans end up doing low-paid, physically demanding jobs, like janitorial work or manual labor, just to stay afloat. In fact, 37% of people over the age of 65 are still working compared to 13% in other OECD nations. And some of these individuals keep going well into their 70s. And the result is a growing group of elderly Koreans who are overworked, underpaid, and in debt. And recognizing the severity of the debt crisis, the South Korean government has introduced stricter lending regulations, financial counseling services, and initiatives to lower education and housing costs. These measures are promising, but their effectiveness remains uncertain. Addressing the intertwined cultural and structural issues requires sustained commitment and policy innovation to significantly alter the country's financial landscape. Tackling South Korea's debt crisis demands comprehensive solutions that both address cultural expectations and structural economic challenges. Shifts toward financial literacy, sustainable consumption practices, and policy reform are critical. To successfully navigate this complex issue will require collective efforts from individuals, families, and policymakers alike. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. And for more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe. And like always, I will see you guys again next time.